Man, am I excited. I can't wait till the intro music gets done. Hey, I just got to tell you guys, ladies, kids, all of you that listen out there, I so appreciate you. I know I say that every podcast. And part of what we do here at the Yup podcast is we are grateful. And I have to express my gratitude for you and for this audience and for the feedback that I get, and knowing that there is a community out there and we are wanting to deal with the hard stuff. And we are wanting to get rid of baggage, and we are wanting to make an impact, and we are wanting to build community. Can I tell you, that just warms my heart? And I am so grateful. And if you're new to this podcast, I'll just tell you, yeah, I'm a little redneck. I'm a little weird 80s. I grew up in the 80s. I'm kind of this mix of all things, but one of my desires, my intense desire, is to be approachable and relatable. And so you'll find in these podcasts that I make mistakes and I don't edit them out and I don't make it highly polished, but I do have a wealth of experience and I don't negate that, but I'm also not arrogant about it. I know that I have made some good choices and I have also made some really awful choices, and I don't tend to give advice in those areas that I made awful choices. I'm trying to take advice and improve. And so my desire is to come to you and join with you and provide insights and maybe lines or different streams of thought that help you become a higher performer and to impact more and improve the community. Because no matter what your political viewpoint is right now, the world is in turmoil. And my personal opinion, and you've heard it before, is most politicians are pretty corrupt, and I don't care what side you're on. We all believe when our side wins that things will be better, and they're usually not. They get in power. Sometimes they make change for a while, but then they usually fall prey to what power does. And that's why the Yup podcast, this redneck wisdom, you, grassroots, are the only thing that is going to bring permanent, real, effective change. And you have to believe that. I believe it. And that is part of my mission, because I believe in you and I see what you can do. When you believe in yourself and you're free from some of these things that often aren't our our fault when we grow up. And maybe some of you are still growing up, and I would include myself in that category, but let's say teenagers, young person, you can take responsibility for the issues that maybe other people have caused in your life, but you can deal with them, get over them, and become a higher performer. And so that is what this podcast is about. So if you're new, welcome. No, it's not perfect. It's not polished. And I am always trying to improve. I have spent a fair bit of money upgrading the equipment. And so, because I care about you and I want to give you a good product, and there's nothing worse than trying to listen to a redneck that's already a little rough and the audio's crappy. I mean, yeah, you're just like, hey, I'm already giving a little bit, man. Give me some good audio. So that is my desire. And so, yes, I have some products, merchandise, blingy, fun stuff at Yup.solutions, which links to my bigger store that has just more stuff in it. So if you want to browse around in there at tombobaldwin.com, that's Baldwin like bald, which I'm sort of, but not all the way. That's why I wear a hat for the YouTube videos. But I'd love your feedback on what I'm offering. If you want to see something different in there, I'm open to that. Or if you just want to chat, my email is 406bigt@gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you. So we are going to get around to the dark psychology interview with my wife. We haven't been able to get together on that. And yeah, we're both really busy, high functioning people. And so we will get the lovely Adrienne in here and we will talk about that. But the last podcast, I don't know, did you guys find that intriguing? I found that intriguing, and I continue to be intrigued about bacteria. And today's podcast is just kind of moving ahead with that podcast. And I'll just warn you, today's podcast, if you're into it, man, we're going to talk about conspiracy theories and all kinds of crazy speculation. And the thing of it is, it's not to get you worried, but to get you thinking. And maybe you don't agree with me, but you start thinking and you start looking at the world a little differently. If I spark your critical thinking, even towards me, you got to know that I believe that's a win. And so if you're just like, Tom, this stuff this is why that doesn't work. Hey, the goal is not to get you to agree with me. The goal is to get you thinking critically, working and becoming high performance, because you're going to have a positive impact. And honestly, I worry when I always agree with somebody, because it's just like, yeah, we're awful different. We shouldn't always be agreeing with things, because I get scared when I think I'm right all the time. That's like beep, beep. That's a big alert. It's like, and I actually ran into somebody today on well, not today, this week, we should tell the truth here, um, online. And we had this conversation, and I'll tell you, and it was an enjoyable conversation. We really disagreed. I don't think we agreed about much at all, if anything. But boy, when I was done, I was just sick because this person really believed that they had it all figured out. And yeah, that just doesn't sit right with me. We're on a journey, and I'll tell you, things that I knew 10 years ago, I have changed so profoundly as my understanding and my wisdom have increased. Did those beliefs serve me in that season? And were they probably, uh, I don't want to say correct, but they led me to the path I'm on. And that's why you can't ever despise the path you're on, because it often is to get you to that place, and we continue to improve. And so this person, I just had this kind of sick feeling in my stomach and really mourned from them, because they're like, well, I put in thousands of hours of research, and that's why I know. Well, I also put in a lot of time researching, and probably more than that. And I know some, but I'm always open to more. And this person was very, uh, basically told me that they discriminate on people's beliefs and who they hang out with. Now, I have very strong beliefs, but I love hanging out with people of other beliefs and hearing about their beliefs and having a discussion about their beliefs, as long as it's not, and this is, I don't know if it's social media or what, but the art of persuasion is gone. Now we post memes that are highly polarizing, and when we get in an argument of substance, if we start to lose that argument, we get emotional, and then we unfriend that person. And that, I really don't like how that's going. And it's kind of what I want to talk about, this conspiracy theory type thing and these dark forces. Like last week, we talked about the bugs, and we talked about in gut intelligence, and that there is this thing, your microbiome, and it's being called the second brain. And as science grows and research grows, they're saying that this gut, this microbiome, may even have a profound and more control than our actual brain does, and that it's feeding back more to the brain, and it's making adjustments and telling the brain what it's doing. And so this whole microbiome thing, it's just incredible. Now, how does that play into dark forces and conspiracy theory? Well, what we talked about, and now you guys, I don't know how much science that you're going to find out about this, and this is kind of just Tom's speculation, so I'm just going to throw it out there. But I think the points are coming together, and I want to say, as I would just call this a little prophecy of the future, because I think this is going to play out to being true, because I think it has substance in history. But we're going to find, and we talked about this in relation to dark psychology, and I have found this to be antidotally true, but your gut has that sixth sense, that sense to see through smoke, through like manipulations, through control, through like diversions, like people, what is it when somebody runs a scam on you? It is, can't think of the word, but when a group of people like pose to be certain things to defraud people of money, they are running, gosh, I feel like I'm playing some kind of TV show game here, like, oh, anyway, you know what I mean. And so your gut, it is that thing, it is that intelligence that sees beyond what the appearance is. Like when we talked about dark psychology, and practitioners of dark psychology are highly dysfunctional people appearing normal. Well, how do they appear normal? It's illusion, it's a mask, it's a disguise. And that gut instinct, and this is where I think the discoveries are going to be made, but it's actually based in like historical, well, just the historical record of like people saying, I have a gut instinct. I went with my gut. I just knew in my gut that this was the way to go, and how that has panned out. Now, does it always pan out? No. But that phrase didn't just come out of thin air. It came out of some substance and experience in people's lives, that their gut, like this thing that they could feel here, your microbiome is here. And so they could feel it here, not here. And those of you out there, you know this because you often feel things in your gut. Well, maybe you don't. If you're not healthy, you don't feel it in your gut. All right, Tom, where are you going with all this stuff in relation to conspiracy theory? Well, let's just add some things up. And okay, we're going to be honest here. This is redneck wisdom at its best, and I would be highly criticized for this. I'm sure people are already, well, maybe you guys aren't, because you listen to me, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your openness to these thoughts. And you know that I don't have to give you permission, but I'm not going to be offended if you disagree with me or you think that I'm full of whatever. I appreciate your feedback. But here we go. So your gut bacteria, they have this intelligence, they communicate, they have, and this is just Tom saying this, they have this sense and they can sense things. And there is this grand intelligence that scientists, now they haven't proven it all the way, but the speculation is that the gut is going to have an intelligence far greater and far more impactful than our actual brain does. And the partnership between the two is, I mean, the research is going, it's just huge. And they interact way more than we ever imagined. And a little side note, you know, those little mitochondria, little bacteria things, do you know how they communicate? With light. Weird, right? There are things that we don't understand and you possibly didn't learn in high school. And so it is good to research and have things sparked in your thoughts that cause you to go out there and do that. So redneck wisdom. So our gut intelligence, and it plays a key role. And this is Tom, right? We're not attributing this to anybody else, so don't get me in frickin' trouble with somebody else. But dark psychology, we need that to discern, to know, because things appear normal, but they're not, because our gut says, nah, they're not, things are not, something's wrong here, right? All right. Well, these little bugs, they're vulnerable to a couple things. Antibiotics. That nukes the bad bacteria, which is often good and can be life-saving, but it also nukes that intelligence that's in your gut. And we talked about in previous podcasts, especially the last one, but the diversity of those bacteria play a key role in your intelligence, and that is far from even being understood. But diversity is important, and even some of the bad bacteria, it is important that they're there in a limited degree, and they actually play a role. And I wonder if their role is sort of like I don't know if we've talked about this in the past, but you know, when people say they have a cold and they take like a highball before bed and it kills all the bacteria and so their cold goes away. Well, that's not actually how it works. What the alcohol does, your body treats it as poison, and so it alerts your immune system to be on heightened alert. And so that little bit of poison causes your immune system to bump up, and that's what actually goes after your sickness and stuff, because it's just like adding a turbo boost to your immune system. So a little bit of poison does that. And so I wonder if those bad bacteria in a limited degree in there just kind of stimulate the strength and the growth of the other bacteria. I don't think that's too far off. And like alcohol, if you start drinking all the time, you really defeat that effect, and you really basically compromise your immune system because you overwhelm it. Same with the bad bacteria, if they're allowed to grow and they have overgrowth. And let me just tell you, the key way that happens, if you love sugar, that is what's happening. And if you're having brain fog and you're not able to focus, I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but I'm pretty, I would put a lot of, if we were betting a lot of wager in that aspect, that the sugar is growing that bad bacteria like candida and those other things, and that is causing your brain fog. So when we take antibiotics and they nuke the bad and the good, well, the doctor says just eat some yogurt and replace that. Well, yogurt has a very limited amount of bacteria, and if you've never had like a digestion culture type thing, you don't even know what bad bacteria you lost in the antibiotics. So you replace it with some other ones, and maybe they're not even the ones that your body likes and needs. You know, they found to be beneficial, but the science of this is so infantile right now that we just don't know that much. But yet we're randomly nuking our system. We're nuking, okay, let me lay this out for you. We are nuking our second brain, our intelligence. We are nuking, it's like doing like radiation poisoning in your head. We are nuking our second brain by these antibiotics. You're like, well, Tom, we need those. Do we? Okay, what we found is that if we strengthen our immune system is highly resilient. Now, I'm just going to tell you, this is an N=6 experiment here at the Baldwin household, because I have 6 kids. I guess it would be N=8 because there's my wife and myself, but none of my kids have ever been on antibiotics. And have they been sick? Absolutely. Have they had fevers? Absolutely. We supplement and strengthen their immune system, and they are able to fight it off. And when they get sick, they don't get very sick, and they don't get sick very long, and they fight it off. And we let fevers run their course. Now, you know, we're not stupid. We watch them and see how long, and we don't let them go for an extensive period of time, but they run their course and they kill the bad bacteria. It's the body's way of dealing with things. The body has its own intelligence, and especially the gut, as far as dealing with those bad bacteria. So it can be done. Now, Adrian and I, as we were kids and stuff, this was not necessarily knowledge, and we didn't know knowledge. So yes, we have had antibiotics, and I have spent, and Adrian to some degree has spent a lot of time trying to restore those bacteria. She had an advantage because she was nursed. And if you're nursed as an infant, man, can I tell you, it just seeds your microbiome with the best, the most intense. And I think a lot of these things are not easily killed off. That is why breastfeeding from day one is so important, because even before the milk comes in, the stuff before the milk just seeds the microbiome. So she has that advantage of me because I was not. I was formula fed. And people that are formula fed, I'm sorry, I'm part of your crowd. You're going to struggle and you really have to work, because Adrian naturally gets over illnesses faster than I do. Now, I'm fairly fast and I've put a lot of work in to build this immune system. But if you want to do something, if you're a new family, a mother and a father, or whatever your setup is, if you can't breastfeed, please, please do it. It is one of the most critical things you can do for your kids' gut intelligence, but for their immune system and their ability to survive and fight disease. Now, there is something that happens. Well, we'll hit this in a little bit, and hopefully I'll remember to go back here. But so antibiotics just nuke the system. They nuke your intelligence. I just want you to get that when you think about antibiotics, that gut intelligence that's down here, you're just nuking it. You're just destroying it. And when it builds back up and you get sick again, you nuke it. And what happens with antibiotics, since they nuke your immune system, because they're also that fighting force that fights off diseases, those bacteria, when you nuke them, you're much more vulnerable to get sick. Well, since they're weak, you can't fight it off again. So what do? More antibiotics. Bam. Ouch. And so you get in the cycle. So if you can, avoid it and do your research. You've all heard echinacea, that's pretty basic. Golden seal is a great one. Vitamin D is fantastic. Zinc is fantastic. You don't have to go too far to find great research on supplements that you can take, and they are really cheap. And some of them are worthwhile taking all the time, but some of them, when you know things are going around or you feel it, you just up the dose. But do your own research is critical, because then you protect your intelligence and you also protect your army, and you give them weapons to fight with. You make them absolutely strong. So the second thing, you're still like, Tom, where are we going? Are we getting to the conspiracy stuff? Because I love conspiracy theory. Or I think you're a kook and I just want to prove it true. So get to the conspiracy theory. Well, there's a second thing that attacks your gut intelligence, and that is a food source. You have all heard, and we mentioned it on previous podcasts, so if you didn't listen, we'll just go here for a minute, is leaky gut disease. And that is where there are substances, LPSs, lipopolysaccharides or lipopolysaccharides. Dr. Gundry, I love what he calls them. He calls them little pieces of shit, and I think that's really good, that are in certain foods. They go and they just punch holes in your gut. Well, what your gut does, it prevents things from getting into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. And when those holes get punched in there, it's where you develop allergies, because there are like food that's getting into your bloodstream that are causing allergies. I've heard this, and I know that it's true to a degree, but I heard someone say, and I can't initially quote him, but they are saying all allergies can be tracked back to the gut, and that intestinal wall that prevents the wrong things from getting in your bloodstream is compromised by these foods. And so not only does it compromise your intelligence, okay, your ability to sense, think, often leading to brain fog, often leading to an inability to focus and an inability to sleep, and an inability to actually be awake when you're awake. Not only does it compromise that, but it gets into your bloodstream and wreaks all kinds of havoc, creating food allergies, allergies to pollen. All kinds of these allergies can be traced back to leaky gut syndrome. Well, what causes leaky gut? No, it isn't just food. It's food that we shouldn't be eating. So modern agriculture, if you're not familiar with it, there was a huge introduction of grains, because you could grow a lot of them and it could be utilized to feed a lot of people. And it was also genetically modified. The wheat that we're eating today is nothing like the wheat that was being eaten 100 years ago, and much more protein in previous wheat, and full of more digestible enzymes. And so the wheat today just punches holes in the gut, as does with a lot of other grain, and we're eating way too much grain. And so modern agriculture and lobbyists, I think I talked about last time, lobbyists play a huge role, because they lobby for the FDA to make the food pyramid, which is absolutely upside down. We should never be eating that many grains. And, cereal companies wanting to promote their cereals and eat them for breakfast, and all these grains, they are compromising our gut health, leading to leaky gut, leading to brain fog, leading to the ability to think, to reason, to see beyond smoke screens. And so we develop diseases where we need pharmaceuticals. And so and I've mentioned this before, but I wonder how many of you actually think about it and dwell on it. When's the last time you've ever heard of a cure? There is no money in a cure, in a one-time deal. There's absolutely no money. Why would a pharmaceutical company invent a cure? Well, because they're an ethical, humane, they believe in humanity. Well, I'm not going to call them greedy, but boy, it sure seems like it. It's like, how many things can you invent without getting a cure? Do you wonder if there's maybe cures behind those doors that aren't being released? It's like coming up with renewable energy that costs nothing, like the folklore of cold fusion, that we have this, it would never come about. It would never be made public. There would be wars over it because the profits involved. And this is why when it comes to like pharmaceutical companies and your diet, you can't trust them. You are the only advocate that you can trust. And you have to do your research and you have to go after it. If you're just trusting these pharmaceutical companies, I'll tell you, just start researching some of the drugs and what's behind them and what they actually do and long term and the side effects that every one of those drugs, maybe with the exception of a very few, can be treated with a change of diet and natural substances. Let's just say rheumatoid arthritis, and maybe some of you out there are suffering and you're going to give me the finger because of what I'm going to share. Oh, well, if you try it and it works for you, that's great. I can suffer whatever. It really doesn't bother me. I'm upset that you're upset, but if the information helps you, but I have seen a couple friends overcome rheumatoid arthritis by intensely nourishing their bodies and cutting out those negative things like grains and sugars and genetically modified food like corn products, soybean products, crap food that you shouldn't be eating, and recovering. Type 2 diabetes, people starting to intermittent fast, cutting out the sugar, getting off their insulin, getting off their metformin, restoring to normal blood sugar levels and normal insulin resistance, and getting their lives back. Incredible. Personal responsibility is amazing. But our intelligence and our gut intelligence, and here's where the dark forces and where the conspiracy comes into play. So antibiotics are pushed like candy. The standard American diet, the SAD diet, I want you to remember that, the SAD diet. It makes you sad. If you're sad, it is from the diet more than likely. They are lowering your intelligence. What did I say about dark psychology and people that desire to control and to manipulate you? You have to have that gut intelligence to know that it's happening and get out of it. So in our political realm right now, there are crazy things happening on both sides: deceptions, deceit, outright lies, outright like not covering certain things, and deceptions all over the place. And for the most part, I think if this happened in another time, we would be having revolution. Why are we not? Especially in America, we are so freaking sick. The diet and the lifestyle of Americans, hey, myself included, don't feel like I'm pointing a finger. I'm pointing it back at me, but I'm making changes. And this podcast is to encourage you and maybe scare you that there are those trying to manipulate and control you. And these forces are not by accident. Well, let's just say if they are by accident, people are realizing that they can leverage this, and it is so easy to do, people. I'm going to get back to my point when I was talking about Facebook and social media, and the art of persuasion is gone. And that now people, when they start losing an argument, they just get emotional and they espouse things like, you don't care, or you're just whatever it is on whatever subject, but they just go off, they go irrational, and then they unfriend you instead of, wow, I've never thought of that. I don't have a rebuttal. I'm going to have to think about that. Thank you for that information. I believe that kind of emotional stability, that kind of strength is largely related to your diet. Okay. I believe that willpower, emotional and mental strength come from the strength of the microbiome that you're feeding those bugs. They're proliferating. They are taking care of you as you take care of them. This is like a symbiotic relationship. If you don't like that, you're going to have to get over it, because you are inhabited with bugs. The batteries, the energy makers of your body are bacteria, and they control so much of you. And if you don't take care of them, they're going to quit working. But if you do take care of them, they're going to take care of you. They're going to provide you with energy, and they're going to provide you with focus. And so one of the things I know you don't want to be controlled. And maybe you don't even like thinking about this information, or maybe you don't think maybe you think I'm crazy. But I just ask you, prove me wrong. Give me another argument. Okay. Look at the research behind the gut. Look at your own gut. Change your diet and document. Be like a data freak. And when you eat something, write how you feel, write how your emotional state is, rate your level of your ability to handle stress, and do that for a month. And your diet right alongside of that. I'm going to tell you, you're going to be shocked. I guarantee it. You try it and try a variety of foods. Have your Cheeto, Twinkie, Coca-Cola day, and then maybe move a couple days where you're eating healthy meats, low on carbs, and the carbs that you're eating are really good carbs, not full of lectins. You're taking out grain. You are going to be shocked. Can I just tell you, I'll give you a little anecdotal story from myself. I love pumpkin pie, and right, 'tis the season. We've been eating pumpkin pie, and I was having a piece, and I just noticed that I got irritable after having a piece. And so I started to log it and record it. And sure enough, every time I had a piece, I was just like in the dumps, low motivation, didn't want to do anything, took a nap, had a headache, was short, not kind to my family. When I didn't have it, I had energy, I had stamina. And when I staved off, and I didn't quit sugar 100%, but for me, that one food was a trigger point. And the other thing that did it, but I kind of knew this because gluten isn't so good, but baklava, oh man, I had some of that, and it tasted so good going down, but man, did it come and nail me later, and my gut hurt, and I was irritable. So we are talking your gut, your intelligence. Take care of it. You are incredibly smart, and your immune system was designed to be incredibly strong, and you were designed either by chance, evolution, you're good, believe in that, or designed by a creator, and maybe it's another intelligence that you believe in. Whatever. It is a fact that is an intelligence down there, and we need to take care of it. Unfortunately, in the world, and I wish I could say that there aren't dark forces and there aren't people manipulating and using you and me for profit, and they really don't care about it. The guys comes across, the pharmaceutical companies care about you, and they're developing these products for you. Bullshit. Right? Shit. They want that money, and they don't care. They just want to keep you barely alive so you can fill your next prescription and be healthy. So I want you to just contemplate what this redneck has to say today, because I know that you are a huge force of change. You can do amazing things. And so you go out there, you do the research, you prove that I'm either crazy or I'm not. Or maybe I'm partially crazy, and maybe it's going to take some time for these theories to prove out. I'm pretty sure that they will. And I'm pretty sure I'm onto something, because I got a gut feeling about it. But I also got a gut feeling about you, that you are my tribe. You are the difference makers. You are the hope for this country. You 100% are. Yeah. Why don't you just take a minute and look in the mirror? You are the hope for this country. No, you're just not another face. No, you're not just another name. Look at yourself. You are probably the answer to a lot of people, but for sure, some. I'm guessing it's a heck of a lot. And we need you, so take care of yourself. Go out there. Yup. Go out there and make a difference, because I got you. I do. I so appreciate you. I'm trying to hit the music before I'm done, but I didn't. So here we go. Yep. I got you. I do. I so appreciate you. You have a great week, and you are the difference makers.